So Bitcoin's had a nice bounce so far. What can we expect with altcoins? I'm going to go through that in this video. We're going to go through a few of the major altcoins. And by the way, if you're enjoying these updates, don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel, especially if you're new. I'm going to do regular updates on altcoins. Now with Bitcoin, we're nowhere near where we kind of dumped from, which is very different from some of the altcoins, where actually some of them I'll show you in a minute, we're actually back above where we had initially dumped. And the thing to mention about Bitcoin is if Bitcoin rolls over again. So for example, if this is indeed 1, 2, possibly 3, and now we're tracing out a 4. So if it struggles here now, as markets open again tomorrow and dumps again, alts aren't going to survive. Just doesn't work that way. So you have to be careful. And remember, the US opens weren't properly open today. Tomorrow, when they open, bond market and everything opens back up after the holiday, then you'll see the really true kind of price action. When volumes are very, very low, it's almost like a Sunday every day. You don't really get the true move. So just be wary of that. If we get follow through in things like the S&P 500, then you'll know what's likely to happen. So just again, having a look at this, yes, we've bounced. It's whether we can push back. So whether we now make a corrective move and then push onwards. And if we get anywhere close to where we were before the dump, that's obviously a very, very good sign. But remember, it's very selective. So if you look at the dumps, for example, this is Cardano, start point, finish point, and you can see we're nearly 50% retrace back up. Something like AVAX, struggling a lot more, so it's a lot lower. Really weak coins like FET, we're messing around the lows. We're still near the lows. Why am I telling you all this? This is really important because when you're selecting altcoins that you're going to buy, let's say spot or on leverage, you have to choose the right ones. The best performing one I've seen, well, one of the best ones is TAO, which we talked about in the last video. This was the initial area where we dumped from, and this is where price is now. So we've actually fully V-bottomed out of it. And this price structure is definitely bullish in terms of the structure off the lows. I don't mean in general long-term on the chart, I just mean off the lows. So that's where this scenario is definitely in play then. The scenario we talked about last time where we saw that move off the April lows and we're still holding a higher low potentially. So we could see follow through this move, finally, that happening right now. So we can get a little bit of a run up. But if it's only a 3-wave move, and we can even calculate one-to-one relationship between this, then let's say we run to 562 and then we fail there, that's all it is. It's just a bear market rally, unfortunately. The other one I've seen that had a decent structure running up is MNT. And with Mantle, you can see the price structure from July is clearly bullish. And I'm just wondering here if we've traced out that first impulsive move. Either we've topped in this particular altcoin, and that's the first impulsive move down. And in that scenario, what we're looking for is correction, usually to the 618. So imminently, if we start to drop again, then it's pretty much done in my opinion. Or that was a very short, sharp wave 4, which means we have one final, in some of these altcoins, one final push up. If that does materialize, then we'll talk in a later video about kind of better targets. Opinions not changed on stuff like AVAX, because like I said, this is not bullish kind of price action at all. Now, the problem is on some of the exchanges, price had reset below, but not always. I think for AVAX, a lot of them were above. So if it is a higher low, then this is not bullish because this is not an impulsive structure. So at very best, we're just going to get this rubbish, and you know, it's not going to be worth it in terms of the risk on the altcoins at the moment. Remember, the risk on the altcoins is massive, as you've learned now with these crazy dumps, and this could easily happen at some point in the next few days or next few weeks. So you have to be very, very kind of vigilant when it comes to keeping an eye on your position. You've seen now literally how fragile altcoins are, and it's no surprise to me because I've discussed it many times. Like the vast majority have no utility. There are millions of them. They don't do anything. It's just insiders, VCs and stuff cashing out on a lot of them, and now they're just kind of dead coins, like meme coins almost. Link is exactly the same because of, you know, all of this kind of drawdown since August. This is not a bullish structure in the slightest. So again, it's just going to mess about. Might do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Nothing interesting. Nothing on the chart tells me that Link is going to go vertical. However, TAO has a better chance, MNT has a better chance, and XRP is the other one that has a better chance because we had very nice impulsive structure here up until the highs in January, and then it looks like we had a completed flat correction. If that's playing out, and so far the recovery is decent, We're heading into very strong resistance here at 2.7. If we get through here and start accumulating in this area, then there's a good chance this could break out to highs. And if it does, it can get a little bit crazy with XRP. Again, that's just XRP's price history from many, many years ago. Who knows if, price action will still be the same, but it's worth it for a run up. Like from where we are now, a 2x is not off the cards for XRP in my opinion. Things like SUI, for example, here, I mean, technically, like I said, it's a little bit similar to TAO, but just, looking a little bit weaker. Still way down, and to be honest, price action was, we were in a clear downtrend all the way from July, so it's not looking great in my opinion. So again, it could be a weak sweep of these highs at best, in my opinion, best case scenario before we continue bear market for SUI. So my point here in this video is that I've only talked about a few. There's hundreds of thousands of altcoins I've not talked about because they're completely, in my opinion, not even worth touching with the barge pull. And I personally would suggest that if you're going to do spot buying, or if you understand leverage and leverage buying some of these altcoins, you make concentrated bets. So you don't have to trade loads and loads of coins like old school way, where you put them in 20 different coins and one of them does 100x. Doesn't work that way anymore. That's a really bad idea because 19 of your coins are going to wreck you 80%, and then that one that does a 2x means in your portfolio you're still way down. Doesn't work anymore. Do concentrated bets on just 2 or 3 of the stronger looking ones. Some of these other layer ones like Injective, I won't touch at all. Been in a bear market since March 2024. Nothing's changed here. We're ever breaking into newer lows. Recovery's been kind of weak as well. The thing is, when you fully reset here, you don't know what to expect because you're starting from the beginning again. So you have a look at the structure out of it. Hopefully you get a correction and then we might move on. But think of the narrative. Think of when Injective was popular back in late 2023 and why. We're way past that. Nobody's trading meme coins on Injective and stuff like that anymore like they were messing about with here. I've got videos on my channel about that back in 2023. Think of the narrative. Like there's literally no reason for anything like this to go straight up to all-time highs anymore. And also the structure won't allow it. The process started from here. This pullback is too deep for it to do another moonshot. We'd have to have stopped here, which is, I was talking about this midway through 2024. Most of these coins were done then. So just remember, whatever like altcoin you are getting shilled by calls, just be very, very careful. This is a hype. So this is one where if you look from here, this is a bullish structure going up, all-time highs here. And look where we're holding. We're not messing about here down by the lows again, are we? So potentially you could argue that this was a 4. So this is a 1-to-1. I think I've checked this already, 1-to-1 on the fib. This could be a wave 4. We see support here at smaller wave 4 and it's held here. Yeah, this could legitimately do something, do a final move. Not going to be anything incredible in terms of ROIs, nothing incredible either. But at best, some of these coins might get you a 2x, maybe only 50-60% move. Who knows? But you have to calculate whether it's worth it in terms of risk or reward. But be very, very careful. I've said this in my videos before, and I'll show you again, and this is a really important learning point here. So a lot of people say, and you'll hear them say this, the money's to be made in the last phase of the cycle. The last parabolic phase is the most important phase. And the charts look incredible with some of these moves. For example, Solana, even in the previous cycle or this one, when it did that final move here. So from here, from 130, and it went crazy, it went to 259, 260. But understand that that was barely a 2x. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. Like, we might get a little 2x move. Barely 2x. Let's say you put 1,000 in, you're probably only going to make $800 profit, as an example. That's not where you make the multiples. The multiples are to be made earlier on in the move and significant. So if I click on the price tool here, you can see here, this is 80% rise. That's what I'm saying, $800. But earlier on in the move, even just from this pullback here, which you had a little bit earlier to the top, that's nearly 300%. And if you got in very, very early, and even if you cashed out at this pullback, you've still made a 4x or more. Like the multiples are a lot more at the beginning, not at the end. So scrolling all back to present day here, where Sol's already at 200, what are we aiming for here? Even if we did mess about here like ETH has done and just scrape over to all-time highs, which is good, 290, 300 and stuff. In terms of actual return on your investment is not much really. And if it went down 50% from here in a day, which clearly it's, you know, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, is that 50% risk worth the, what we're calling it, maybe 70-80% reward? That's for you to decide. That's based on your own kind of trading preference, time in the markets, you know, what your goals are here. By the way, I've gone through hundreds since this bounce here, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. If you think there's any altcoins that legitimately have a chance of doing a 2x to a, say, 4x or 5x from prices where they are right now since we bounced, then mention them in the comment section below. More than happy to review them in another video. But honestly, I'm struggling here. Like, you can pick any of these. You can go for HBAR or CAS or something like that and just be like, yeah, well, you know, I'm just going to buy and just see how it goes. Even HBAR here, if you look at the initial moves back in, you know, late 2022, the problem here is this is all impulsive. We ran to January 2025. Price has gotten so low, it spiked into these prices. This is the issue with Bitcoin. That's why people, you know, don't know what the count is on Bitcoin long term and how high or, you know, how far it could potentially go. Because every time we get a bear market, it goes so deep that it overlaps. Why does this matter? It matters because very likely HBAR cycle is over this time. And what we're talking about is a different thing that people are not aware of. What we're talking about is where the bear market will end, where that low is. That could be this one. Remember in 2019 what happened? Like we had a significant low, and then we had a bit of a rally, you know, some good times, and then we literally had nothing for like a year and stuff, and then it got to COVID times, and then technically it was a higher low, so the bottom was still the year before, not the COVID low. That was actually a higher low, but it was all one long bear market. So this definition here, we're just messing about with, you know, like, how do you want to define, so where's bear market, where is it not? Like, even if we get a rally here and then we go sideways and down for the next, you know, 6 to 12 months, call it doesn't matter what you call it. Like, call it bull market, bear market, who cares? Like, are you making money? Are you not making money? Is it worth the risk to make some money in these current market conditions? Or were there much better conditions in late 2023 or late 2024? Just ask yourself these questions before, you know, blindly aping into some of these altcoins. If you're a short-term trader like I am, what are you looking for here? We've had a good bounce. Are we going to continue? Are we going to roll over? All we're doing again, get onto a 30-minute. I talked about in my last video, a significant higher low on a higher time frame, which we got. One of these scam ones where, you know, it's kind of an overnight pump, but whatever. And then we've just been sideways grinding. The grinding is not great because, again, overnight, what might happen is we'll just sweep the highs here and we could get a significant dump. But again, it's how far we dump. Like, if it's just a corrective movement down, that's okay. But if we're coming down impulsively like this, like the initial dump, that's obviously not a good sign. Apart from TAO maybe, nothing else has moved that impulsive that I would be immediately like unbelievably bullish about it. Unless we get the following. So for example, on XRP, what we're looking for here is, let's say this was the first 1, 2, and now we might be getting another one. It doesn't look like a wave 3. It looks like another 1, 2. So it's okay that it overlaps, but it has to hold here. So it has to hold around 243, 250. If it did pull back, if it just goes straight, even better. But if it did pull back, it has to hold here, and then we basically have to violently go in a straight line, and that will be a third wave. And then everything's moving as it should. So if I'm zooming out here now, this is how it's going to look. So all-time highs there, which was kind of like a corrective move up. And what we're looking for is 1, 2, 1, 2, and then a 3, 4, probably consolidating at all-time highs, and then a final push, and we're done. And that's it. Call it a day. But if this doesn't hold, or if Bitcoin rolls over along with stock market, then we have further lows. And then it gets a bit dicey, because if price gets too low, that's just basically confirms that, you know, it's not a wave 4 and we've already kind of topped. Which technically you count here. It's a bit messy, but you could definitely count this move as a final 5 as well. So short-term price action is everything. Nothing wrong with this so far. 1, 2, 3, but like nothing wrong with the price action so far. Solana made a new low. Nothing wrong with this price action. This is a nice bounce off the lows, a nice impulsive movement. Again, what we're looking for, because that's a new low. What did I say in the last video? So this is a new low. We actually traced a new low here. So we're resetting, starting. We need a higher low here. Remember, long term, I mean, me personally, I don't think Solana is going to go to thousands of dollars or anything like that at all. Probably ever now, unfortunately. But anyway, still in terms of a bounce trade, decent. So if this traces out, we have a nice higher time frame pullback. So look for 50%, 618. Look for a lot of panic, people thinking, oh, here we go, we're going to go back down. And then it turns here. That's a really good place to bid. Again, just as a trader, risk reward, it's a good place to bid. I just had another concept I like to think about, which is max pain. Max pain, what do I mean by that? Well, sometimes markets tend to move towards the areas where, it's going to cause the massive kind of damage. So if everybody's kind of aping in and everybody's like, oh, it's October, Bitcoin's going to all-time new highs, now alt season automatically must begin, blah, blah, blah. That's when you get these crazy things happen. Max pain would have been a liquidation event. That's happened already. And now everybody's panicking. What's max pain in this scenario? Max pain is, ironically, us just running up, crawling up slowly with altcoins, whilst every single day there's bad bearish news. That would be the perfect scenario for your altcoins in the coming days. Bad news every single day, but quietly altcoins crawling up and people spot buying, and the bigger, larger traders who are, half kind of wiped out, kind of staying away from it. But again, zooming out, if this is the correction high, and let's say this was a 1-2, and then we're having another 1-2, the opposite direction, and we start tracing back to the lows, and we break down, then I wouldn't want to be anywhere near all altcoins. It's highly likely it's kind of game over there. Hope that helps. Thanks for listening.